So I've been away for quite a while and I've definitely fallen behind in these videos since I never finished the Phase 3 films, but I'm back now, and I'm doing really well with uploads tonight particularly, so I thought why not let's smash a fourth one out and do the Doctor Strange Easter eggs. So with this film, a lot of the relics and magical items are themselves references to other things in the comics. And obviously the first one is the Book of Cagliostro. Cagliostro in Marvel Comics, I believe, is another of the sorcerers in the greater Marvel universe. I can't remember exactly what time he's from or what nationality he was. I believe he was Italian, but I could be wrong. But it is a reference to that character nonetheless. We get Caecilius. He is actually sort of like a C-list villain, even as far as Doctor Strange goes. Obviously later in the film we get Dormammu, who is like an A-list Doctor Strange villain, and Caecilius is just sort of shown up once or twice as a minor inconvenience. But it was kind of cool to see them take not only an unknown character and bring him to the forefront, but also to bring with him an even lesser known villain. I can't remember exactly how it's explained in the film, but the mirror dimension, I think it's the mirror dimension or the dark dimension, one of the two, allows allows power to increase. I think it might be just the dimensions themselves, the dark dimension and the mirror dimension, allow magical powers to increase in strength. And we see the Ancient One use this to expert levels in the opening fight scene. And even though we, the viewer, don't realise it at the time, this is actually a fight of sort of equal magical ability, with them both drawing power from the dark dimension for various reasons. The hospital we then go to when we first meet Stephen Strange as a surgeon is Metro General. If you watch the Netflix shows, you'll know Metro General as the exact same hospital that I've forgotten her name now. Claire Temple works at. She works at Metro General, and this is the exact same hospital, just obviously in a different section because Doctor Strange does not work in ER. Christine Palmer is another of the characters from the comics who was given the title Night Nurse, just as Claire is given the title sort of unofficially in the Netflix series. And so that's how she sort of ties into this. I don't think she has any actual ties to Doctor Strange as a character. They've sort of combined two different Night Nurse characters here to create the love interest for Doctor Strange. Nicodemus West, however, is actually a character from the comics. He is the one that does the surgery on Steve's hands and badly repairs the tendons and sends him into his depressive mood, and therefore sends him on his quest to become a Sorcerer Supreme. Avengers Tower is shown up a couple of times. there is, of course, that phone call in the car, which sort of gives one theory and a possible reference to a really unknown character. The ex-military colonel who broke his back in a experimental suit of armor could be, and pretty much only relates to War Machine from Civil War, but given my theory on the time frame for this film, could also be, like most people believed, could also be the guy in the Hammer Tech suit shown in Iron Man 2 back in 2010. And the reason that I think that is because Stephen could have been searching for a long time for a cure to his hands before he came across even the idea of magic, and then having to try and get himself over there and travel around, and then the time studying, etc., etc. And we're just supposed to believe that this takes place in a couple of months is completely unlikely. I don't care how good a study he is. Then the 22-year-old female with an electronic implant in her brain to control schizophrenia struck by lightning. Kind of. People were thinking that it could be an origin change for Captain Marvel, which I don't think it is. I tend to go with the other theory that is talking about Typhoid Mary, who is a Daredevil villain, and it would be really cool to see her played in the Netflix series, as she would have an interesting sort of power set. Maybe we could put her against Jessica Jones, so it's, her fighting this other female would be really cool. But who knows what Netflix is doing with their stuff. And the song playing in the car at the time is a Pink Floyd song. And if you have a look at Pink Floyd's album A Saucer Full of Secrets, you can see Doctor Strange and a little bit of other Marvel comic artwork in that cover. So it was a nice reference to them. And the time on his watch is Groundhog Day, in case you hadn't heard about that one already. The part where Stephen is trying to write his name is torn straight out of the comics. The character Jonathan Pangborn, I don't know what it is about this particular last name and magic, but it pops up so often that it can't be a coincidence, and try as I might, I haven't been able to find a origin for why this is. But Shadowhunters uses the name Pangborn for one of its Dark Shadowhunters. I believe it's in the show Secret Circle at some point. And yeah, it's just sort of dotted across magic in pop culture, and I can't find an origin for it. So if you have an origin for Pangborn and how it relates to magic, leave it in the comments section for me. That would be amazing. We then go to Kamar-Taj, which actually translates to Moon Crown. So make of that what you will. Could be referencing Moon Knight, maybe. And if it is, once again, it's almost at this point guaranteed they're gonna make something with Moon Knight. I was reading an article the other day that said that they were still toying with the idea of doing something with Moon Knight, and at this point it's just like, just find the actor for me, because it's all but confirmed in my mind. We then meet Master Hamir, the magician that Strange mistakes as the Ancient One. He is, in the comics, he is the Ancient One's most devoted servant, and he's also Wong's father. The Ancient One tells Stephen to open his eye and then touches him on the forehead right here, obviously referencing his third eye. During the psychedelic trip that he has while the Ancient One shows him what magic can do in all the different dimensions, there's one point there where beams of colour are coming out of his hands and feet, and I don't know if it's just me, but I recognise the colours pink, green, red and blue, which, if you're not a gamer like I am, are the colours of the square, triangle, circle and X on a PlayStation controller. So was that deliberate, or let me know what you think down in the comment section. The Dark Dimension is made to look exactly how it's drawn by Steve Ditko in the comics. The Wi-Fi password Shambhala actually has some significance. Shambhala is another one of the capital cities of heaven in the Marvel universe, along with Kunlun, where Iron Fist comes from. We then get references to some texts. We get the Book of the Invisible Sun, Astronomia Nova, Codex Imperium, and Key of Solomon and Maxim's Primer. I'm not sure about 4 of those, but I know that the Key of Solomon is a demonology book. So whatever he was studying had something to do with demons. And considering that Nightmare is going to be the villain for the second Doctor Strange film, that could be a possible spoiler for that. We then get the missing hand for this film is Master Hamir shows up and shows that he has not got a hand at all, while proving to Doctor Strange that you can still use magic even if your hands don't work. Throughout the film, Strange is constantly calling Wong by various other one-named celebrities such as Adele and Drake, to name a few. One of them obviously is Beyonce, and then when you have that little scene where Strange is stealing books using the sling ring, Wong is actually listening to All the Single Ladies by Beyonce. We then get the staff of the Living Tribunal in that fight scene with Mordo when they're training. The Living Tribunal is actually, in the comics, it's a cosmic deity of sorts, and is basically the embodiment of justice in the universe. The only time I've actually read a comic with it in it also involved She-Hulk, which I believe is the easiest way to get a Hulk solo film without having to pay royalties to Universal, and I will make a full video about that after I finish the Road to Infinity videos. The Wonderful Tomb is also seen later in the film, but it's referenced here in that same scene with the training montage, like the training scene, as the vaulting boots of Valtor. Valtor is one of the sort of magical deities that Strange calls upon in the comics. He usually calls upon the vapors of Valtor. We then get the Eye of Agamotto, which is the thing that has the Infinity Stone in it, the Time Stone, and the things that they do. Hang on, how do we do this one? I do know it. No, that's not it either. Just trying to remember how they actually. There we go. The thing that they do to open the eye is called finger tutting. I didn't do it properly there, but it's called finger tutting. And they actually had someone who can do it really well, he does videos on YouTube for it, actually come in to teach the actors playing sorcerers how to do it. I clearly cannot. The description given of Dormammu as I believe they call him a devourer of worlds or something along those lines, also describes Galactus. I can't remember the exact lines from the scene, but it's while we're looking at the Orb of Agamotto, which is the big globe that shows where the sanctums are, and Wong is talking about the Dark Dimension and how the sanctums protect the world from the Dark Dimension, and the description he gives of Dormammu also accurately describes Galactus, who I believe could be introduced as a Celestial, and I've said that multiple times in other videos, so the seal of the Vishanti is the symbol used for the New York Sanctum. It's also the one shown in the window. It's sort of the little hashtag thing in the circle. We get the address for the Sanctum Sanctorum as 177A Bleecker Street, which it is in the comics. The Cloak of Levitation, which is one of Strange's relics, and it's semi-sentient. Daniel Drum, Master Drum, is the New York Sanctum Master before he is killed and it passed on to Strange. The weapon that he uses is the Flaming Whip, and it's made to just look like a spell in this. The Mandalas of Light are also known as the Vishanti Shield, and the reason I keep saying Vishanti in this, even though the word is never brought up in the movie at all, is because the Vishanti are 3 cosmic deities, and I bring that up because, going back to the stuff of the Living Tribunal, the Living Tribunal as a character in the comics is a big golden thing that has 3 faces on its head. And so there could be a slight merging of powerful beings here to create the Living Tribunal as an embodiment, a single embodiment of the Vishanti. Maybe. It would surely make condensing cosmic and magical things together easier, considering that that is his whole purpose, is to protect extraterrestrial and extra-dimensional attacks. Other things seen in the Sanctum at various points are the Dark Scepter is seen in the London Sanctum just as it's crumbling to bits, and then we get to see the Evil Eye. Black Knight's helmet is apparently in one of these scenes. They did make a prop for the Ebony Blade, for Black Knight's Ebony Blade from the comics. They're going to put that in there as a reference to the fact that he might be around, because it is a cursed sword. And the Daggers of Dalvaroth are also in there somewhere as well. The Ebony Blade was eventually taken out, and whether shots that used it weren't used in the final cut. But it would have been really cool, and it at least shows that Marvel's thinking about other characters that they could continue with. And I mean, if they brought out a Black Knight film that could then team up Doctor Strange for a bit, it would be amazing. It'd be really cool, I think. So I would like to see that. At one point in the comics, Strange sort of uses an axe for fighting with. I can't remember why exactly. I think he sort of gives up magic or something for a bit or something. I can't remember. I think I might be remembering a different detail for a different movie. But yeah, The Crimson Bands of Cyttorak are also seen somewhere in the Sanctum as well. That is the trap thing that Strange throws at Caecilius that sort of traps him in the weird pose. If I'm remembering correctly, I believe they're called the Crimson Bands of Cyttorak. The bit where Strange goes to the hospital and has the astral projection fight scene in the hospital is taken straight out of The Oath, especially the parts where he pops out of the astral realm as his astral body to help perform his own surgery. Stan Lee has his cameo and he's reading The Doors of Perception, which is written by someone who was just detailing a particular acid trip, I believe, something along those lines. The Wonderful Tomb then of course shows up as Wong's weapon, and this is the same scene that in the trailer, the shot of Tina Minoru and the staff of one sort of clicking together is from, because as they're all getting their weapons, their relics and stuff, you can actually see Tina in the background with an already completed staff of one, which is pretty cool considering that she then went on as a character to appear in the Runaways series as one of the villains. Benedict Cumberbatch did the motion capture for Dormammu, and it makes sense that this, at least for the MCU version, that this would happen, as Dormammu wouldn't need a physical form living in the Dark Dimension, and so when he creates one in order to communicate with Strange, he just creates it based on what he sees in front of him, sort of like how a Ditto in Pokemon changes its form to fight other Pokemon. And then as the Zealots are being sucked away into the Dark Dimension, they start to turn into sort of stony creatures, and the mark on their forehead starts glowing really bright red, just like the mindless ones from the comics, which are just Dormammu's foot soldiers and cannon fodder. And then the two after credit scenes are for Thor Ragnarok, and was actually directed by Taika Waititi, who directed Thor Ragnarok. And it's obviously a scene straight from that film. And then we get the drive behind Baron Mordo as a villain, which is potentially the third film, just to sort of close out that arc, is more than likely going to be Baron Mordo for Doctor Strange 3. And then that's it. That's all I've got for you. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button wherever it is on your device. And until next time, guys, keep raising hell.